everybody, Linda here, the scrapbooking photographer. Thank you for joining me today, and today we are taking part in the Stamp and Stencil Savvy hop, which happens on the first Saturday of each month, and it's hosted by Brianna Spores from My Life on Paper. This month's prompt is to use different stamp sets to create our layout. So what I have decided to do is to go with a floral theme, and I've cut 6 photos of various roses into 3x3 squares. So those are going to be our photos. But what I thought I might do was experiment in building a bit of a garden. I have no idea if it's going to work or not. Yeah, so follow along and let's see how it comes together. If it's absolute rubbish, I won't bother showing it. So I've got out all my flower type stamps, and I'm thinking I want to go with a regular sort. Those might work, whereas I don't think these will because they're more clustery flowers, so I'll put them to one side. These blooms could work, so I'll keep those, and I think those might be a bit big. I'll keep those there for now, and from Stampin' Up, that one might work. I don't think that one will. This one, I like that little flower there, that's very handy. And this one, the stipple roses, is a different sort of texture, so I don't think that will fit with what we're doing. And this is an old one, Flowers of Friendship, which some of them might work. So what I thought I'd do to start with is use this stencil, seeing how we're stamping and stenciling. I thought this stencil, I don't know if you can see there, these are actually balloon ribbons. So the other 2 stencils that go with this had balloons on them. But I thought I might just use it as stems for flowers. So with stems being green, I'll start with an evergreen ink. And down the bottom of the page, I think is where the flowers are closest to us, so I would expect them to be a little bit darker. So I'll make these stems quite dark, and then coming up the page we're just going to get a little bit lighter, and I'm not going the whole way. I'm thinking that the photos can be a bank of photos across here somehow. I haven't quite visualised it in my head, so we're inventing it as we go along and hoping it turns out all right. I'm also thinking I might frame it around the outside when I'm finished, so I'll be cutting a little bit off the edges, and then I'll just very lightly go there if I use them at all up the top. Actually, I don't think I will, so I'll stop there. Right, so that gives us a kind of a outlay there. I'll put the stencil to one side because it will need cleaning. My flowers are mixtures of pinks and yellows and creams, and there's a little bit of red in there as well. So I'll get those inks out. I've got the colours Honey Butter, Candy Apple and Pixie, which gives us 3 basic colours to work with. So I'll start with Pixie, pink being my favourite colour, and I'll put the sponge underneath so that the stamping works a little better than it would without it. And you can see here that I've, can you see that? I've just gone along the bottom with the green ink as I've done the stenciling, so just as well I decided I was going to frame it. I'll be cutting off a little bit there, which will fix that issue. I'm going to start with my favourite stamp, which is this little round one from Hearts of Elegance. It sort of looks like a rose. I'll put that onto a square block. And as I said before, we're working quite in front here, and I want the impression to be that things are receding. So we're going to try and go quite vivid down the bottom. and mixing up the colours a little bit as we go. So I'll just get a little piece of paper in so I can do a secondary stamp as we go further up, and that just gives us a bit of an impression that it's going further into the field. Okay, time to change colour. Clean that stamp off and get out a different flower, and perhaps with the yellow ink we can do some of these flowers. Oh, didn't realise they hadn't been sorted, but one has, so I'll use that one. I need to come back and organise that stamp set. And I'll do these ones in honey butter. So they should be a little yellow. Yep, cool. Now if you're really keen, you could go and colour these in. I won't be doing that because I don't really like colouring. But again, I will do some in a lighter tone to give that impression that they're going up the page. I'll give that a wipe. And then we'll try some candy apple. And we'll pick a flower to go with that after we've put this one away. I think these ones could work quite well. They're similar to that first one that we used, but just gives a little bit of a different look. So we'll find places where we haven't been before. It doesn't matter if they overlap, I don't think. And using the same block, we'll put the inside of that flower. And on the, oh, we have to get this the right way around now. I think that works. It won't show up as clearly on these ones. Okay. I quite like them on the secondary stamped background, but not so much on the primary one, but that's okay. And we'll use the little sunflower here, and on the same block. I'm going to use the honey butter again for this one because it's kind of logical with a sunflower. And mix it up a little bit. So I'm just kind of angling it in on top of these stalks that we've made or created with the balloon stems. Do a couple of secondary ones as well as we go up the page. Well, I think the photos will go over that area. Okay, and I think we need a little bit more pink in there. So we've got a couple of stems left. We'll go back to this one. We had to use a little bit more of the pink colour. Just to finish up these stems that we've got sitting around. although I wasn't that keen on the red, I think we'll pop a little bit more red in there as well, just to balance it off, but make sure we do the secondary stamping. Like these little flowers, so I think what I'll do is pop them on a block, and of course they're all separate, so you could use them separately, but I think if I just bring these in along the bottom in some of these gaps, that will do a good job there. Now the question is what colour, and I think a different yellow perhaps. So we'll try some Sundance, which is a little bit more vivid. And then we'll also do them in the Candy Apple. And in the middle, we'll use Pixie, which is the pink one. So they do kind of look like wildflowers, a little bit messy along the bottom, but that's okay. Actually, I'm going to put some more yellow ones in there just to make it evenly crowded along the bottom. I think the next thing to do is probably to mount it, and I've got a plain piece there that I think I'm going to use the back of for there, and then I'm going to use the front to mount the photos. Now I've only got this piece here, so I need to be quite frugal with the way I cut it. So I will start off with taking, I want 1/2 inch all the way around, so I could take 1/4 inch off each side, might be the best way to go. And I actually quite like the way it takes the edge off those end flowers, because it does sort of make it look as though the flowers are overlapping the side. And I'll take 1/4 inch off the bottom, which gets rid of that overhang of green that we did on the stenciling, or that I did on the stenciling. And then we've got 1/4 inch off the top as well. And we'll have the pink around like that. Now, do we want that, or do we want that? I might do the figured on the back, I think. And I'll take the middle out very frugally, because I do need a good amount of it. So I'll just come down, pop it up there. If I leave 1 inch all the way around, I should have enough to stick the two together, whilst leaving enough of the middle to be able to mount the photos on the same paper. I'm not sure how old this paper is. I think it's been in my stash for quite some time. So good that it's just the perfect colour. And I obviously need to buy some more pinks. Oops, nearly. Okay, so let's stick that on first. Now I'll go around the outside of this with the tape. Oh no. Disaster. A little bit of that green needed. Okay. Have to be a little bit more careful. Like I say, it's the only piece I've got, so I'll just dab it around these fragile corners, and then we'll get this stuck on. Actually, we'll put that down the bottom now, and putting the page on top will help to keep that in place. Just put a little bit of extra sticky tape over there. I have some washi tape in my drawer for just this purpose in case I need it. There we go. Okay, now with this piece we're going to mount the 6 photos. You can see how when you cut through the trimmer that it leaves this mark, and you can definitely tell that that's the cut side. So however I mount them, I need to make sure that I've got room to trim on the right side so that that doesn't show up. If I put those on like that, and I'll bring them in a little closer so that I have got that room to trim the edges off and make it a nice clean cut. So because I'm not sure I've got them straight on the paper, I'm not using the guide of the trimmer, but rather using the edge of the photos in here as a guide. So lining them up with the end of the trimmer that you can see and coming down that way. And you can see how much cleaner that cut is when you do it from the right side. Because I line the photos up to the edge, I can get the same distance all the way around. Right, so we'll see how that looks on the page. Okay, so we're covering up some of those flowers, but that's okay. We're going to come down there and give that white frame there way and have a little bit of a title down that way. So I'm going to stick that down, and that leaves us this part here for the title. And for the title, I'm going really easy and using this beautiful word here and stickers. Okay, so I don't like this stray stem we've got there, so I'm just going to pop these flowers over the top of that. There's another little flower here that I'll add in. And then I'll just bring the title in so that it's sort of in the middle of that and have it go sideways. Okay, now there's lots of ways that you could change that up if you wanted to add raised flowers and that kind of thing, but I'm happy to leave it as a background for the main event, which is the flowers that we saw at the Rose Gardens that day. But I will add a little bit of bling down here. And you can't go wrong with a few little bits of a bling in the middle of flowers, particularly these open ones that don't have any centers in them. Okay, oh, and one over here. Just put a couple over here as well. So there will be lots of other people taking part in this hop for Stamp and Stencil Savvy. So if you have the time, it would be great to also look at their videos and leave some love when you see people putting their time into creating the videos that you enjoy. We all love to get the feedback, particularly when it's complimentary. One more up there. And there is my page for Stamp and Stencil Savvy this month. So I've used a combination of stamps from Stampin' Up and Close to My Heart, and the stencil for the balloon strips as the stems for our flowers. So I'm quite happy with the way that turned out. I hope you enjoy playing with all your stamps and seeing what you can create and mixing them up to get the effect that you're after. Thank you so much for watching. Happy crafting, everyone.